If you want an open-top, powerful, and luxurious driving experience for 4 adults, you really can't go wrong with this CLE Cabriolet. Redesigned for the 2024 model year, the CLE replaced the C and the E Cabriolets, and in this 450 4MATIC model, you get a very polished and capable convertible. But if you belong to this very specific group of people, you might find this car a little bit disappointing. More on that a little bit later. The CLE Cabriolet comes in the 300 and the 450 trims, and all of them come with the 4MATIC, which is the all-wheel drive system. Now, you could get something like this for around $85,000 after delivery and all of the packages. Now, Mercedes did provide me with this car with a full tank of gas to drive for the week, but the opinions are still my own. So let's begin with the exterior. The new Mercedes-Benz coupes, sedans, and cabriolets have looked a bit mean lately, and that's because they've used this shark nose design. It's a forward-leaning, athletic design that we've seen with the AMG GT, and now it's trickling over to the other vehicles. For 2024, the CLE also gets this mean look with the slightly furrowed brow and the squintier set of headlights. If all Jeep Wranglers can make angry faces, so can a luxurious Mercedes-Benz convertible. The front bumper also looks similar to other sedans and coupes with the large side intakes, which looks purely cosmetic. From the side, the CLE looks best with the top down. The top does come in 3 colors, black, gray, and red. And then there are 4-wheel design options to choose from, ranging from 19 inches to 20 inches. And regardless of which one you pick, they look pretty hard to clean as there are so many spokes on them. And at the rear, the CLE has a smoothed out appearance with the taillight design that seems to have been merged from left and right. And then there's also the absence of sharp corners, save for the little lip spoiler on the trunk lid. Though the worst part of the exterior design is, can you tell what it is yet? It's the fake dual exhaust ports. And you can't really tell that these are fake until you get up close to it and try to put your hand through. But if you're someone who likes to mod their vehicles and put different exhaust systems on there, it seems like you can cut out those pieces of plastic to have a more mean exhaust poking through. Overall, the redesign is nice, but it's not a big, bold step from Mercedes. It's very much a small evolutionary change, so it toes the same design language as the rest of the lineup. It still maintains the luxurious and clean look as expected, and it's not going to shock or deter anyone planning on buying or leasing these things every couple of years. Now, before we continue on with the review, I've got a pretty important message. When you're shopping around for a car, you'll have to provide a lot of personal information just to get a quote or even schedule a test drive. Your phone number, your email address, your ID, all of this is fair game for dealers and even private sellers to ask for. But what happens if these companies get hacked? All of your personal information, from your phone to your card information, could be out there vulnerable to hackers, spammers, and scammers. Take AT&T, for example. Recently, they revealed there was a data breach that leaked over 73 million customer records, both existing and former, onto the dark web. Unfortunately, companies you trust can be the ones putting your information at risk. And did you know that information can be sold to data brokers who make a business out of trading personal information? That's a scary thought, that our personal information is being passed around like a hot potato with no regard for our privacy or our security. And that's why I've started using Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Aura is like a digital watchdog, constantly monitoring for any signs that my personal information has been compromised. They alert me if my details pop up on the dark web or if data brokers are trying to sell my information, and they even help me remove my info from their databases. In today's world where data breaches and identity theft are becoming all too common, having a service like Aura is essential. They give you peace of mind knowing that someone's got your back online, so you can focus on enjoying your new ride without worrying about who might be taking a joyride with your personal information. So if you value your privacy as much as I do, then head on over to the link below, aura.com/shiftinglanes, to start your 2-week free trial. Trust me, when it comes to protecting your digital life, Aura is the ultimate co-pilot. Now back to the review. Inside, the CLE has also been upgraded to match the other models. There's a 12.3-inch digital driver display up front and a heads-up display as well. And there's an 11.9-inch portrait-oriented infotainment screen, just like the ones that you'll find in the C-Class, except this one has a new button which will tilt the screen, and that's really to cut down on any potential glare from the sun when you have the top down. And speaking of the top, The top can go up and down in about 20 seconds. And if you need to open up or close while you're moving, you can do so up to 37 miles per hour. When the screen is tilted, this is actually a more comfortable way of interacting with the screen. And you'll be using this a lot considering that most of the controls, like the climate controls, the stereo controls, are on the screen. The MBUX, or the Mercedes-Benz User Interface Infotainment System, it's pretty intuitive, but you do spend a lot of time looking, swiping, and going into the submenus. So if you're not a fan of simplicity, you might just hate this thing. If you don't want fingerprints on this beautiful screen, you can also control the menu via the directional touchpad on the right spoke of the steering wheel. It's not a user-friendly design, but with a little bit of practice, you can get pretty good at it. That interface is replicated on the left side of the steering wheel, and that's to control both the digital driver display and the heads-up display. This is a must for these displays because they're not a touchscreen. As for the seats, they are incredible, of course. They are heated and ventilated, and since this is a convertible, this also has the air scarf technology, which will blow warm air across your neck. And you also have some massage features in here as well, and you can adjust various features of the car like the lumbar and side bolsters in a more easy to understand graphical user interface. And I like how you can bump up the bolsters all the way up so this can lock you in while you're cornering. And if you look at the back seat, there's slightly more room back here compared to the C-Class Cabriolet from last year. The wheelbase on this car has grown by an inch, so the rear passenger compartment is more adult friendly. When it comes to the driving experience, this Cabriolet is a very polished convertible experience. The driving inputs like the steering, the brake pedal, the gas pedal, and also the transmission, they have been tuned for a smoother operation. So for the brake pedal, it feels like there's a little bit more travel. It's more spongy at the very top, and then it gets firmer and firmer. So it has a very gradual feel to it. Instead of it feeling like an on-off switch like in some more sporty cars, it's more like a dial where you can modulate the brake better. Don't get me wrong, it still has very good stopping power. The throttle response is almost like the same way, where it's more gradual. Even in the sports setting, the gas pedal feels more muted, so you and the passengers can have a more comfortable driving experience, unlike in the AMGs or some BMW M cars, where the experience can be a lot more lively and manic. So while this car has plenty of power on tap, this thing, by the way, has a 3-liter inline-6 with a turbo, making 375 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque, with a 48-volt mild hybrid system. And it's not a full-on hybrid, it's really there to help with the car's efficiency. If you want to tap all of that power, you have to be a bit more intentional with it. There's no S Plus mode or race flag mode here that you could find in cars with more sporting aspirations. The shift logic and the throttle response is just not aggressive enough for the average automotive enthusiast out there. So it's a good thing that this car comes with paddle shifters so you could at least control the transmission on your own. On a curvy road, it's pretty evident that this has been designed more for better ride quality rather than handling agility. But don't get me wrong though, because there's some magic going on with the adaptive suspension. Anytime you brake hard, there seems to be more firmness in the front of the car so that it prevents the car from diving. And also when you're changing directions, it seems like it's changing the damping rates between the left and right sides so that the car feels more flat. But there's just something about this car where it has all of the potential for it to become an even more aggressive and more fun car to drive. It has the handling capabilities. It has the motor. There's plenty of power in the engine bay. But there's just something in the electronics of this car where it's not as aggressive as it could have been. The throttle response could have been much more immediate. The steering could have been firmed up a little bit more. And even the transmission can shift pretty quickly. Had Mercedes put in an S Plus mode or a race flag mode, just like the ones that you could find in the AMG cars, this would have been much more fun to drive because this car is capable of it. But for the large majority of people that this has been designed for, just having this S mode where everything is in the sport setting is going to be just fine for them. There's also a lot of driving assistance features that make this into a great cruiser. The adaptive cruise control and the lane keeping features work well together. and the automatic lane change feature also works pretty confidently. Mileage isn't bad either. You get 23 city, 32 on the highway, and 26 miles per gallon combined. This is par for the course for a Mercedes convertible. It's a very well-built, polished machine. The exterior and interior design changes are really nice, and I don't think anyone's going to be disappointed by it. But if you're an automotive enthusiast, you might want to check out the AMG GT53 instead, which I'll link over here. That is a really nice car. And I want to thank you so much for watching all the way up to this point. My name's Hanson, and that has been the 2024 Mercedes-Benz CLE450 4MATIC Cabriolet, and I'll see you in the next one.